Public hearing. Resolution of City Council of the City of Emeryville granting a one-year extension of the approval of a conditional use permit, design review, variance, and demolition permit to construct a 101-unit for-rent residential project. Mayru,
No chance for a break here, huh, Mayor?
if you'd like to take a break. Let's see if we can run this one through quick.
Okay. That's what they always say. Yeah.
Developers don't make money waiting.
They don't, or they do?
Well, John probably does,
Yeah, we have a
but
lot
most
of
don't.
administrative items.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long night.
Yes, long night.
It is.
So we'll break right after this for
Yeah,
5 minutes, if you don't mind.
Good evening again. This is a request for extension of some permits. If you may recall, City Council approved a use permit, a design review, a height and parking variance, and a demolition permit for a 101-unit residential project, which included 10 live-work units and about 1,000 square feet of retail cafe space. On November of 2010, the council extended these permits for 2 years with the provision that 20 units be converted to one-bedroom units. As part of another request for permit extension, the applicant has submitted a revised floor plan that increases the number of one-bedroom units by 20 as requested by the council, while keeping the total unit count at 101. So just to recollect, this is a site on Adeline 39th and Yerba Buena. About less than a third of the site is in Oakland, and there's an existing one-story brick building which will be demolished in order to accommodate the project. And this is the building that is existing. This is the proposed site plan. It's essentially 4 3-story volumes over a podium with a below-grade garage. So the unit count as proposed now is that the studios decline from 41 to 21 and one bedroom increase from 36 to 56. The rest of the count for 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and live work remain the same. So the way they have achieved this is that they have converted one bedroom units on the 3 floors the larger studios into one-bedroom units. So on the first floor, you have 2 studios which have been converted into one bedroom, and then as you go up on the second floor, the additional, the ones in greens are the ones which have been converted from studio to one bedroom, and you have that on the 3rd floor as well. So in terms of unit square footage of each unit, the converted one-bedrooms is approximately 540 square feet. The original one-bedrooms are around 680, and of course, the square footage of the other unit remains the same. So these are the elevations. There will be marginal change to the elevations as a result of the revised floor plan because they have been created by putting a wall within each unit. And this is a section, you can see that the parking is underground, and then you have about 48 feet height of the building. The request for the extension of the permit is essentially due to the economic climate that we have been facing, and the applicant has not been able to secure financing for the construction, and therefore requests additional one-year extension of the planning permits. And the zoning ordinance does allow the council to grant extensions on a case-by-case basis for a maximum of 5 years from the original approval. Since the project has already received 1 2-year approval, this would be, if you do approve it, this would be the final 1-year extension. So the findings that you have to make today is that the permit holder has documented that it has made a good faith effort to commence work upon the use, that it is in the interest of the city to extend the permit, and there are no substantial changes to the project or the circumstances, and no new information that would change or need further environmental review. Staff believes that these findings can be made, and that the council approve the request for 1-year extension with the new expiration date of January 20th, 2014. And like I said, if a building permit is not applied by this date, then the project would expire, and if they would have to come again and apply for a new project. So this would be the final extension. So that concludes my presentation. The applicant is here. As you can see, they brought a model, and they would be happy to talk to you as well.
Would the applicant like to come up and make a presentation?
Congratulations, Mayor,
Thank
Vice
you.
Mayor, members of the council. Nice to be with you again. My name is John Protopappas. I'm with Madison Park, the owner of this property. We purchased the property now, it's been almost 6 years ago, and went through, as you know, a very extensive process to obtain the entitlements. But as you also know, something occurred soon thereafter our purchase of the property, and we had a great recession. It affected us and as well as many other developers in the business. We were able to, I thought I'd also give you a brief update on our Bakery Lofts Phase 3 and Phase 4 property. Because during that same time, we came to you seeking extensions for that project also. Fortunately, we were able to secure the financing, and we're under construction. As many of you have seen, our property is progressing quite nicely. The Emeryville portion should be completed in May. The Oakland North and South building should be completed by the end of August. If you would have told me that it would have taken more than 50% equity to get these projects financed, prior to the recession, I would have said, I don't think so, but that's what occurred. In fact, it took 52% equity for us to get Bakery Lofts Phase 3 and 4 completed. So when we finished Bakery Phase 2, which is in Oakland on 46th Street, next to our Bakery Phase 1, that only took 20% equity. So to go from 20 to 50 really created some financing challenges, but we were able to do that. And we believe we'll be able to do the same thing here with 3900 Adeline. This will be, as staff mentioned, 101 units plus a cafe. So at approximately $300,000 per unit, it's about a $30 million project. When we originally planned the project at 20% equity, you could see there's a huge delta between roughly a $6 million equity requirement and now probably a $12 to $14 million equity requirement. So just as we were able to get Bakery Phase 3 and 4 financed, we believe we'll be able to do the same thing. We are working with a couple of potential equity partners, and we would ask for your permission to have another year. Frank Flores, our Director of Development, is also here to be able to answer any questions specifically regarding the development of the property. And I'll ask Frank to come up.
I just had to take a minute just to say hi. How you doing?
Hi, Frank. Good seeing you.
Great to be back here in Chambers, and congratulations, Kurt.
Thank you.
As Maru mentioned, we did, on paper, convert 20 of the studios to ones. As you know, probably know, when we come in for a building permit, there'll hopefully be a chance to modify those units, as Maru had stated, wherever she is, to possibly, add the windows, move the walls. So there's some more devil in the details there. Also, in my email that I sent to you today, if you look closer at the floor plans, some of the 2 bedrooms have really large landings up on the top, which really create a growing family kind of a unit where you could actually have a toddler or something and have a baby room or what have you. So in those 9 2-bedrooms, they're pretty ample, and in addition to the 5 threes. So we have a lot of information here with the EIR and the COAs, and we even dusted off the model and brought it out here for you. So if you have any questions at all, especially Vice Mayor Jack Asher, who wasn't around during the approvals, just let me know.
Okay.
Wait, Frank,
no,
when are you
you
going to
stick-
start?
Yeah.
Well, we have 1 year. So when are we
That
going
was not my question. I know you would have 1 year. When are you going to start? Come on, John.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Put it on the table.
Soft shoe.
So we believe that with the additional year, what that will do is that will allow us, we have to submit our building permit plans. So that gives us enough time to be able to do that, and at the same time secure an equity partner. So we think it's going to be about a year from now that we actually break ground.
Okay.
Okay,
Don't miss the market.
Right.
okay. Any other comments before we open up public comment? Okay, any public comment on this item?
Hi, thank you, Mayor Brinkman, council members. Bob Cantor, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. We looked this over, and I'd urge you to approve the staff report. They're recommending it. If nothing else, you've gone along with them this far anyway. If you were to grant this extension, it would be, as Maru pointed out, the last one. So they understand, John and Frank understand that this would be it. If they don't get things, if they don't break ground, nor about this time next year, then their approval would expire. They're back to square one anyhow. Mr. Protopappas, who I've probably known for close to 20 years, is no dummy. He's a smart businessman. He understands the rules.
And he's a media star.
Oh, yes, and a former port commissioner at Oakland. He's a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and he's been around a long time, has a wonderful reputation. You can trust him. You have many people come before you. John's honest. He knows what he's doing. He has other projects here in town. It's risky. We urge you, I know you'll study this, but we urge you to approve this. It's definitely worth approving. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, seeing none, we close that. What's the wishes of the council?
Move approval of the resolution.
Okay, Davis, is there a second? I'll second it. Call the vote.
I have a few comments.
Okay,
Just
please.
before we
I'm sorry.
go forward. So I'm curious about that. This is the last 1 year. I thought the original approval was in 2009, and can't we ran up to 5 years for an extension under our new agreement?
Well, the 5-year extension is a special interim ordinance that was passed a couple of years ago, and it only applied to certain projects that were listed in that staff report. This is one of those projects. Normally, under the zoning ordinance, it's 3 years from the original approval.
Oh, I see.
But you're right, this was approved in 2009, and 5 years from then is 2014.
Well, so that's what we're approving. But I mean, I thought you got 5 years extension. I guess I just had it wrong.
Oh, a total of 5 years.
Total of 5 years,
From
thank
the
you.
original approval is what's
Okay,
possible.
so this is the last
Yes.
extension. So this was not actually approved while I was on the council, or Kurt. Only Nora and Ruth were on the council in January of 2009, who are currently still on the council. And so 2 years ago, when the extension came to us, I looked back at my notes last night, and my notes said, I needed to see the plans. I went along with the extension because it seemed like the right thing to do, but I have to say, I think this was approved kind of under an older paradigm, if you will, in Emeryville before we talked as much about family-friendly, and I know there are more 2- and 3-bedroom units or 3 bedrooms certainly in this project than, as Frank, I think, pointed out, in the rest of Emeryville, created over a certain amount of time. But for me, actually, to see the size of the small units, which they just, to me, 14% of 2- and 3-bedrooms is not really enough family-friendly, and the unit sizes seem too small. So I frankly am not comfortable approving. I did go along 2 years ago, I believe. I don't think I voted against it, although I don't remember. But I feel like this is not enough for me to feel really comfortable with it under my view of new projects in Emeryville. So, I just have those mixed feelings. So I haven't had a chance to dig into the project to the level I would like to. And with my other new hat, I'm curious about the parking that you have in place and how many spaces there are per unit, and how, the podium style also is not my favorite thing, and so I'm trying to understand how people can get to the ground or feel connected to the community that way. Those are my concerns.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah.
Please.
Well, it's not a podium.
Oh, it was just described as a podium. So sorry.
It's underground.
Oh, okay.
It's completely underground. There is a pretty drastic elevation change, if you can believe, Emeryville has, that goes up here about 5 or 6 feet. So it's a little bit raised in the front, but it's completely underground.
How many parking spaces are there?
Maru, maybe you can help me on the parking. I could dig through here. These are based on those standards then, so 3 bedrooms probably have, there was a variance as well, parking variance. There's at least 1 per, I know that, and there was even some universal parking, I think maybe council members, David and Atkin, could remember that we were going with some universal parking. That was part of the variance. But I think we meet just about meet the parking code at that time. Now, of course, this is transit-oriented and the upzoning is happening.
Right, do you have any specific strategies well, go ahead, I'd love the answer to the parking question, but then also what you can do to minimize, it is very close to Transit Hub. Curious how you take advantage of that.
Well, they did receive a parking variance to allow reduced guest parking spaces, but in terms of the unit counts, it is according to the existing parking requirements. So that would be one space for studios and one bedroom units. So that also doesn't change with the change in the unit count, whereas 2 and 3 bedrooms would be 1.5 per unit.
So what's the total number of spaces that you have?
Total number would be
It's 110.
110.
110 spaces for 101 units?
Well, go ahead.
That's right, 110 spaces for 101 units. That includes studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and live work.
And the live work?
10 live work.
And the live work are what ratio? Are they with the studios in 1 bedroom or the 2 and 3?
Given the size of the live work, which is about around 1,000, it would be 1 per, so it would be 1 per unit, 1 per each live work unit.
Okay. So then the guest, you're saying the guest parking is what you got the variance on?
That's right.
So there is no guest parking, or there's maybe 1 or 2 spaces, it looks like?
It was one spot per 5 units or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's 1 spot for every 4 units, and so they are, so if I do the math here.
About 25.
25, and so they are providing only 6. So they're providing less than about 10% of what they would provide for the guest parking.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And then try to answer your other question about minimizing the impact.
Yeah.
There's a pretty large bike parking facility in there. I want to say holds somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 bikes. That's part of the conditions of approval. It's
As a cage kind of model, or how
well,
is it doing?
it's a room right now shown on a plan. So what it will end up being, I think we have to provide lockers in some instances as well. Maybe Maru can elaborate on that.
So they have to provide 30 bicycle parking spaces. 25 need to be provided in an enclosed, limited access area, and 5 would be guest bicycle parking spaces, which need to be provided near visible locations or near entrances.
Outside, not secure, kind of
Correct.
public
Yeah,
access.
Yes. As these are meant for guests and not the residents.
Mayor, excuse me, Councilmember West, Mayor Brinkman.
Adjustment.
I just like, in response to your other question about being up off the ground or connection to the street, if you look at the plans that were attached to your staff report, I think you can see that on the lowest level, the podium level, if you will, I think we refer to it as a podium even though the parking is underground, because in the building code it's called a podium, even if it's pushed,
Hey,
even if it's
okay.
pushed into the ground. Anyway, all the podium level units that are basically at street level do have stoops directly connecting them to the sidewalk, or most of them do, and that's on 39th, Adeline, and Yerba Buena. I believe that was a condition that was added either by the Planning Commission or the City Council when this project was approved.
Are those the only access points, or are there other entrances to those units?
No, those units also have entrances off interior hallways.
Interior hallways.
Right.
So, Charlie, how would the stoops be more functional than, say, the stoops at elevation 22,
Yeah, that's a good question.
which don't serve the intended purpose at all?
Well, I've heard that said a number of times, that those stoops don't work because you never see people coming or going from those units, but I would assert that most of the places in Emeryville that have doors directly on the street, you don't see people coming and going very often unless you hang out there for all day long. That is a little bit.
But maybe single-family residences.
Yeah, but
where
that's also
Maybe.
because the garages are in the back.
The
so-
garage-
Yes, I was
are-
going to say that.
Okay.
In the
They
elevation
go from the
22 is a
car.
different model.
Yeah.
It's where the garages are directly connected to the units, so people can drive into their garage, get out of their car, and walk straight from the garage into the unit, so they don't have to go through the front door. Now, of course, if you're not going in your car, if you're walking to the store or something, you'd probably go out the front door. So, but in this case, that's not the way this is designed. This is designed with underground parking. So, I mean, if I lived in one of these units and I was going to walk over to the lane splitter, I'd go out the front door. But I don't know about other people.
You might want to go in the back door, Charlie.
I know you won't get in your car and drive. But there are 3 common stoops, as you can see, on Yerba Buena, out on Adeline, and then another one out there on 39th Street. And they're pretty ample and wide, and yet not nearly as tall as the elevation 22 ones.
Can you describe what's open to the public there and what is closed off? Like, on those common stoops, are there gates?
Those are
or-
common stoops. At this point, are ungated.
So the public has access to the courtyard?
At this point, I mean, I'm sure that there'll be discussion of safety in the neighborhood, just as there's been lots of discussion of safety tonight.
Yeah.
But certainly in our time in the neighborhood, we've seen a lot of major changes in terms of safety. It feels a lot different than when I moved to Bakery Lofts in 1999, 2000, walking to Temescal Park with a Louisville Slugger. Now I just walk with my dog. So yet to be seen, really, but it's shown with no gates right now. And we don't have detailed plans. But the idea is that those stoops are open and at the very least recessed back. And I think that was part of the Planning Commission's want, was that there's space there. We also, this model doesn't show it because we didn't update the model, but there's actually a large notch taken out of the front now. And there's a pretty large public space there in front of that corner cafe. And that would, in theory, be where the public art is, maybe a statue or something like that, along with the cafe, and outdoor seating to increase some pedestrian activity out there.
So I also want to appreciate one other detail you brought up, I think, in your email, which is that the kitchen, which is kind of the public space anyway of your private unit, shows onto the courtyard. And I think that design actually is really valuable in terms of producing a little more community. So I just want to say, I feel like I didn't get all the information or get to really look at the plans as thoroughly as I would have liked. This is the second time I've had the project, but I know I just needed more information and more time. So I won't be able to vote for the extension tonight, but if we want to hold it over, I would be happy to see. Thank you, but I can't really digest it right now.
This is a rendering of just showing how one of those stoops looks going under the bridges that connect the buildings. Basically about 6 or 7 stairs, and it's about 18 feet wide. So.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the additional information, too.
Anybody else want, I want to say some comments. Anybody else want to make some comments? I caught some heat from residents when I perhaps rather tactlessly talked about some census findings for the city of Emeryville when I said that 51% of our households in town are households of one person. And I got an immediate and swift response, but quite frankly, when this project first came to us, I was not enamored of the number of studios and one-bedrooms. I don't think it's in the best interest of the city of Emeryville to build more studios and one-bedroom units. And I felt it at the time. I hope I verbalized my concern with the unit mix in this project. I believe I did. John and Frank, you're going to be unhappy with me, but I'd rather see a different model here moving forward. As long as you don't have financing in place and you haven't broken ground, I'd rather see us do something that really meets the deficit of what we have in Emeryville and really does more. So that's how I feel, given the times that we're in right now and what the city needs.
Well, I think if I was a developer, that might be a problem, because I don't think the project would ever be built, because they have been trying to hustle this job for 4 or 5 years based upon a certain design and certain ratios, and I'd have to believe if we change those ratios too much, this project will never be built. So, and I have a concern about, this was passed before I was on the board and Jennifer's on the board, so I hate to go back and try to make all these corrections to what the Planning Commission did years ago and to all the work that's gone into this. So I would support this project, because I don't feel like it's fair to go back and start making these guys redo this project that was approved by you, I would have to believe. So,
Mayor?
yeah, please.
I have to agree with Ruth. I would like to see more family-friendly units in this development, and so for me, I'm not able to support it for that reason.
Okay.
So everybody's taking a deep breath, because it looks like there's 3 people not to approve the extension.
We'll take the roll call.
Do we want to continue this item and have Madison Park chat with the staff some more and come back?
I mean, I don't know that
When
2
does
weeks
the
is going to
permit
solve
run
the
out,
mix
Charlie?
of units.
Currently?
Yeah.
January of 2013.
Well, we could continue it until December 18th, and then perhaps Councilmember West could take a more thorough look at it.
Okay, I would
Well,
support that.
That's fine, but frankly, if it's not more than 14% of units that families could conceivably live in, I'm not guaranteeing a yes in 2 weeks. I think that there's been a paradigm shift. I think things have changed in the way we look at development projects now, and as you said, at meeting the need. There's been a shift, and that is a risk that has been entered into. I can't deny that.
Well,
Timing.
if I could comment, I think there has been a paradigm shift, certainly on the part of the council, in terms of housing and what is perceived to be the needs of the city for quote, quote, family-friendly housing. But the other paradigm shift is the dissolution of the redevelopment agency. Now, if we want to build housing in this city, and the only housing we want to build is for family-friendly, I have a suspicion that we are going to very rapidly not be building any housing in this city. We, at our peril, demonstrate a bias against single-family units. So I would withdraw my motion and ask to have this continue to the 18th. It looks like it may not pass, but let's give it another 2 weeks and see if cooler heads will prevail.
Do you have a public comment?
I do.
Okay.
I purchased a loft at Key Root Lofts at 3960 Adeline in 2006. And since then, my neighbors have had children. I've become an aunt to a few children that's been born in my building. It's 22 units, underground parking. Parking is a major issue in my building. I have 1 car. I had 2. And we now use all of the handicap parking because we know there are no handicapped people living in the building, but that's a major issue. I think there are about 38 parking spaces for 22 units or something like that. But we would welcome families, so I know maybe I'm just living from experience. I've been here 6 years, and that's my comment.
Are you saying you'd like the project to go through as it currently is, or that you'd like more
I'd
family-friendly?
like
I'm
to
not
see,
sure.
I mean, I'm by myself, and my unit, my place is 1,300 square feet, and it's not big enough for me. I mean, I'm renting a storage unit on Hollis Street just for my closet. So it's $400 an extra a month. Yeah. So it's not enough space.
So you think 560 square feet wouldn't,
That's a closet.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
Thank you for your comments.
thank you. Well, my house is 1,000 square feet, and
Mine is too.
so I'd love to have 1,300.
Mine's 1,200.
Okay, so I guess,
I second the motion to continue.
continue? Okay. And I would support that, too, so continue to December 18th?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.